Do you know the origins of, because I remember back in the 90s when you had that big spike of those commercials that were kind of telling parents and using fear-based propaganda to get your children inside and fencing off playgrounds and not walking your kid to school anymore. It's like, how much evidence was there for serious, I guess, abductions? And is that still there? Like, is the world more dangerous than it was? And then are there more consequences of letting go of the reins?
Yeah, so violence, Professor Steven Pinker has shown this. This is counterintuitive because we see so much violence on television. But violence has been massively declining for the past 100 years, right? And it's not declined because we lock away our children, because violence against adults has also massively declined and we don't lock away adults, right? So there's a big debate about why that's happened. He wrote a very good book about it called The Better Angels, which is about figuring out why that happened. And there's lots of competing theories, but the fact is very clear. There's been a huge fall in violence. So to lock away your kids because you're afraid... I mean, if I said to you, I will not let my child play outside because I'm afraid my child will be hit by lightning, you would regard me as insane, right?
Yeah.
But your child is 3 times more likely to be hit by lightning than to be kidnapped. So this is a risk that is almost nil, right? And that's been the case for the whole of our lifetimes, right? And that was the case when Lenore played outside, right? So the decline in violence is not the result of locking kids away. Already violence had massively declined by then. And it's declined even further since against both adults and children. So out of fear of something that is a negligibly tiny risk, what we've done is we've imposed certain harm on our kids. We've made it harder for them. We've made them struggle to pay attention. We've made them obese. You've got not the certainty, but the massive increased likelihood of harm, which is happening all around us. A third of American children are obese.
That's gone up 50% since the pandemic, which
exactly
is wild.
So we're just talking about staggering levels of obesity, staggering levels of attention problems, in part because we've taken away this ability, we've taken away childhood essentially, against a negligibly tiny risk. It's partly about helping people to understand that, but also Lenore says, and I think she's absolutely right, she used to just try and tell people the statistics and the risk, and it just doesn't work, right? It just doesn't work. Our brains are not very good at calculating statistics. If they were, no one would play the lottery, right? And I've just come back from Vegas. Vegas would not be packed every day of the week if we understood statistics and odds, right? That's just not how we think. She said what works is not telling them statistics to not be afraid. What works is letting them see their kids grow in competence. She says the thing that works is they let their kids out. They're so nervous, and their kid comes back sweaty, having run around, telling them about, I saw a squirrel. I got a bit scared because I climbed a tree, but look, I did it, right? Seeing what parents need to see is that their children are competent, right? What we're doing is we're making our children incompetent. Because it's small things that build confidence that make you. This is why college students are so fucking anxious, right? If you've never had the experience of a little bit of risk, a little bit of danger, and of course we know anxiety itself independently damages attention and focus. We've all had the experience. If you're anxious, you can't pay attention very well, right? So this is one of the 12 factors I think we really need to deal with, and I would argue every single school in the United States should have a Let Grow program. This is free. This is the lowest hanging fruit. This is something that all Americans could agree on, right? I don't care if you're the most liberal or the most conservative, all Americans. And one of the good things that might come from COVID, this has been a horrifying tragedy, obviously. One of the good things that might come from COVID, is we've just seen what locking away our children does to them. And everyone knows it has fucked our kids, right? So let's think about, okay, if locking away our kids this much has harmed them, maybe the extent to which we were locking them away before COVID harmed them, now we can set them free again, right? And we can do it in a controlled way. We can do it in a way that minimizes risk, because the risk of what we're doing now is enormous, right? The risk of setting them free is low, whereas the gains of setting them free are enormous. So yeah, you should totally letgrow.org. Everyone listening, please go to it. I go through other ways in which the way we live is harming ways we live are harming our attention. I think the way we designed our school system is if this is not the fault of teachers who never wanted it to be this way. If you wanted to design a school system that would kill children's ability to focus, you would design the school system we currently have, particularly for boys. We've designed a school system that makes boys feel incompetent and like they can't do anything and bored all the time. We can design a different school system. There's all sorts of these big structural things. But yeah, so there's lots in terms of children. And obviously then a lot of the book is about adults and what we can do for our own attention as well.